5 Force Analysis, the ice cream industry. During this report, we will evaluate industry traits, the 2 strong forces that most restrain profitability in the ice cream production industry, and summarize and evaluate Nestle's performance. I will now review the bargaining power of buyers. Overall, this is a strong force. There were 5 traits that we identified. Regarding buyer concentration, the retail channel accounts for almost 83% of the market for ice cream and frozen novelties. And according to the International Dairy Foods Association, more than 75% of packaged ice cream retail sales occur in supermarkets. Due to this, we've rated it as high. Regarding brand identity, large companies with brand recognition were able to raise their product prices, albeit slightly, to maintain profitability. Large brands are also likely to expand their product offerings and presence on retail shelves to attract new customers. Regarding price sensitivity, the buyers of ice cream have to consider who will ultimately be buying from them. In this case, 83% of consumers look at price when choosing an ice cream product to purchase. Most consumers seek reasonable prices. Regarding purchasing volume, as 83% of purchases are made through a retail channel, most of the purchases are done through chain stores or distributors, allowing them to purchase in large quantities at regular intervals. Regarding end-user consumer sentiment, one of the key factors of downstream demand for ice cream is health trends. Growing health consciousness among consumers has placed downward pressure on demand for ice cream. As consumer tastes shift to low-fat and low-calorie items, this will shift how retailers purchase ice cream products. I will now review the bargaining power of suppliers. Overall, this is a medium force. There were 5 traits that we identified. Regarding supplier concentration, as there are many dairy farms, sugar processing plants, and extract producers around the country, suppliers are not very concentrated. Regarding differentiation of products, as the main ingredients of ice cream are milk and sugar, these items have a very low level of differentiation from one manufacturer to another. Regarding dependence of industry, as basic ingredients are just that, suppliers have many avenues to sell their product besides ice cream manufacturers and are not reliant on them for a majority of their business. Regarding volatility of pricing, the volatility of milk and sugar pricing will likely subside in the near future, but these prices have fluctuated wildly in the past. For instance, milk grew by double digits in 2011 and rose another 19% in 2014. But then in 2015, the price went down to 28%. Regarding presence of substitute inputs, as the main ingredients for ice cream are basic milk and sugar, there are no real substitute inputs. For low-fat or low-sugar products, there are some substitutes available, but for regular ice cream, there are not, forcing buyer's hand. I will now review Rivalry. Overall, this is a strong force. There were 6 traits that we identified. Regarding growth rate, a negative 0.3% growth rate is forecasted for the years 2016 through 2021. The growth rate for the years 2011 through 2016 has a modest 1.2%. Regarding number of rivals, the overall industry participation is expected to rise an annualized 3.1% to 422 companies during the next 5 years. Although there are major national players like Nestle and Unilever who are holding on to their market share through acquisitions, strong demand for super premium varieties has encouraged several new entrants into the market. Regarding product differentiation, it is necessary to capture market share and earn higher returns. Companies must adapt to consumer tastes and create new sub-brands and products. Regarding brand identity, 68% of consumers made their selection of an ice cream product based on brand. Regarding fixed costs, large-scale operators can achieve economies of scale to help reduce per-unit costs. This enables them to compete more aggressively on price than smaller companies. Intense price-based competition has partly offset the positive effects of these lower production costs, however. Regarding industry concentration, the industry exhibits a medium level of concentration, with the top 4 companies accounting for 64% of the industry revenue in 2016. It has grown slightly more fragmented over the past 5 years, however. In addition, concentration also varies among product segments. The traits associated with the threat of substitutions in the ice cream industry are switching costs, buyer inclination to substitute performance, and brand identity. Because of the new focus on a healthier lifestyle by many consumers, the threat of substitutes has a pretty big impact on the ice cream industry. The competing products are other frozen desserts such as frozen yogurt, sherbet, custards, flavored ice, and frozen tofu desserts. According to the IBIS report, over the past 5 years, sales of packaged frozen yogurt and gelato have skyrocketed with the increasing popularity of Greek yogurt and frozen yogurt stores such as Pinkberry. Because of the similarity in the products, the switching costs are low, which makes it easier for consumers to switch to healthier alternatives. Also, the price of ice cream has increased over the past 5 years because of the rising price of milk. This further decreases the switching costs for consumers. Another factor affecting the threat of substitution is the rising popularity in non-dairy alternatives for not only allergy reasons but for health and ethical reasons. This increases the inclination to substitute for many consumers. On the upside, however, because larger producers experience a great deal of brand loyalty, many have introduced a selection of low-fat and low-calorie varieties, which has slowed the decline in demand for industry products. According to the IBIS report, barriers to entry for the ice cream production industry are moderate. The traits of the ice cream industry that are included in the threat of new entrants are economies of scale, capital requirements, brand identity, and absolute cost advantages. One of the most significant barriers is the capital requirement. The ice cream industry has a strong reliance on equipment and technology, which makes the capital requirements higher. Another trait faced by new entrants is brand identity. The leading industry operators have a high degree of brand and customer loyalty. Economies of scale is another trait that affects the new entrants in the ice cream industry. According to the IBIS report, leading producers enjoy efficiencies created by economies of scale due to the large scale of production. Because new entrants are usually smaller, it makes it difficult for new entrants to compete with larger producers. Access to distribution is another trait that affects new entrants because larger brands typically benefit from favorable contracts with key downstream customers such as grocery stores and allows them to secure the limited shelf space in frozen food sections. The final trait of the threat of new entrants is the absolute cost advantages. Larger brands benefit from lower per unit costs that enable them to compete more aggressively on price, making it difficult for smaller producers. In reviewing the industry-specific financial performance numbers for Nestle as compared to Unilever, the revenue generated by the companies is comparable. However, the operating income generated by Nestle is over 2.5 times greater than that produced by Unilever. Nestle's strategy in the ice cream industry has included strong branding in all segments of the industry, leveraging its status as the largest food and beverage producer to maintain favorable interactions with suppliers and buyers, and using its world-class research and development to adapt to changing market pressures. Nestle maintains strong brands in the mainstream ice cream industry with its Dreyer's/Edy's brand, and in diet ice cream with the Skinny Cow brand, as well as the iconic drumstick in the frozen novelty. In this important growing premium ice cream market, the best-known brand is Nestle's Häagen-Dazs. With these brands, Nestle covers all sub-markets. Nestle is the world's largest food and beverage supplier. It uses this market dominance to create favorable interactions with its suppliers and buyers. The IBIS report identifies one of the key external drivers as the price of milk. One of Nestle's key strategies is the leveraging of their expertise and market dominance in sourcing. Nestle maintains a milk district model, working in partnership with local farmers to develop reliable supply chains by working directly with milk farmers to help with quality and transport. In the IBIS report, it states that the major market segment is grocery stores with 68% of sales, followed by convenience stores with 12%. In these key segments, Nestle has used its market dominance to become the category captain for the ice cream displays in 22 of the country's 25 largest supermarkets. This role allows them to dictate where products are placed in the supermarkets. Nestle maintains a research and development department centered on diet and nutrition, which helps it to remain relevant to the Healthy Eating Index. Dreyer's has the slow churn brand that is lower in fat without tasting significantly different than standard ice cream. Nestle also recently announced new processes to structure sugar in order to reduce the total sugar without changing taste. This will be a big boom in the trend towards healthier eating. The two strongest forces in a five forces analysis are rivalry and buyer power. Nestle's positioning in the key grocery store segment, especially in its dominance in determining displays, helps to keep smaller companies from reaching end customers. Nestle is trying to decrease rivalry by increasing the market faster, especially in the premium ice cream, where Haagen-Dazs does so well and has higher profit margins because of its brand loyalty. Nestle's overall size exploits economies of scale in a way smaller companies cannot hope to match. In countering buyer power, Nestle banks on its own market dominance to keep its products in the center of grocery displays. Its strength in branding also helps counter buyer power because of the differentiation and end buyer loyalty, especially to its premium brand. Porter's five forces analysis indicated that one way to measure rivalry is to measure the industry concentration. Economists measure rivalry by indicators of industry concentration, QuickMBA.com declares in their article explaining Porter's model. This basically means rivalry can be measured by the percentages of the market companies in that industry. The lower that concentration, the higher the level of competition. For ice cream, Nestle S.A.'s market share is 21.6%. Unilever market share is 21.5%. Dean Foods Company market share is 12.2%. Wells Enterprises Inc. market share is 8.7%. For these four top performing companies in the industry, the concentration ratio is about 64%, which our case tells us is medium. However, and in addition to the above information, our case tells us the industry has become slightly more fragmented over the past 5 years, driven by unfavorable shifts in health consciousness, increased internal competition from smaller manufacturers, and rising competition from substitute products such as Greek yogurt. Quick MBA declares that the more fragmented the industry is, the higher the competition. Overall, I think these two examples together help make rivalry a strong force in the industry. QuickMBA.com goes on to tell us high storage costs or highly perishable products cause a producer to sell goods as soon as possible. If other producers are attempting to unload at the same time, competition for customers intensifies. Ice cream is perishable and must be kept frozen, indicating higher costs for storage and transportation. This is one of the reasons exports are so low in this industry, according to this case. Lower levels of product differentiation is associated with high levels of rivalry, according to QuickNBA.com. Finally, the case declares the ice cream production industry is expected to stagnate over the next 5 years, driven by unfavorable shifts in consumer preferences and increased price-based competition among industry operators. As you can see in the table, I have calculated the revenue growth rate from the year prior, starting about 10 years ago in 2007. The market obviously has been affected by the 2008 recession and has struggled to grow, maintaining stagnant, positive growth rates since 2013. One possible reason for the slow growth besides what has been discussed is called industry shakeout. QuickNBA.com tells us that an industry may become crowded if its growth rate slows and the market becomes saturated, creating a situation of excess capacity with too many goods chasing too few buyers. A shakeout ensues with intense competition, price wars, and company failures. An industry shakeout increases the force known as rivalry. Considering all the factors above, I assess this force as one of the two stronger forces acting on the ice cream industry. I'm wary of the concentration ratio, but the fact that Nestle SA is such a large and powerful company, yet only holds 20% of the market, tells me that the competition factor is high. According to the International Dairy Foods Association, more than 3/4 of packaged ice cream retail sales occur in supermarkets, which supports the notion that buyer power is higher if buyers purchase a significant portion of output, distribution of purchases, or if the product is standardized. QuickNBA.com states, buyer power is higher if buyers are concentrated. There are a few buyers with significant market share. The case supports this with the following data. Retail channels, including grocery stores, warehouse clubs, and convenience stores, account for a combined 82.9% of the market for ice cream and frozen novelties. That is a great example of concentrated buyers, which indicates the power of buyers is high. During the economic recession of 2008, the growth ratio in terms of revenue dropped 13%, a significant indicator that when times get tough, consumers will avoid buying ice cream and treat it not as a necessity. The case backs this up when it declares, during the recession, lower disposable income levels caused consumers to cut back on discretionary spending, which lowered demand for ice cream and caused industry revenue to drop. For these reasons, it would be fair to declare buyer power as a strong force acting on the ice cream industry. This concludes our report on the 5 force analysis of the ice cream industry. We hope you enjoyed our presentation. Thank you.